So I've used Turo to rent cars for personal trips and vacations since 2019. I've also regularly rented cars from the big national chains for 20 plus years. There's some major differences between the two. This video is not sponsored in any way. This is all based on my personal experiences. First thing you have to do is go online, get the app. Once you're set up, you go in and put in the dates that you need and the places that you need, just like the national companies. So I need to rent a car in Fort Myers for these 10 days. Unlike the traditional companies, you'll get a list of specific vehicles that you have the option to rent. And you can narrow that down by price range or make and model or however you want to slice and dice that. But the coolest thing is you're going to get exactly the car that you've chosen. There's some tricks and things to know when you're selecting a car to rent from Turo. That same make and model may be for rent for different prices from different people because you're renting from individuals that have their cars available. So I have found, 10-15% price differences for the exact same car. It pays to scroll around a little bit and make sure you're getting the best value for the car that you want. The same model in an older car can also be a really great value. And I have rented cars from Turo as old as 2011. They were well maintained, they ran fine, I never had an issue with any of those older vehicles, and saved a pretty significant amount of money just because I wasn't hung up on having the latest, greatest, newest car. And just like these other app-based systems, they have host ratings. And I do take a look at those, and I also keep in mind that the world is fuller and fuller of Karens. So one bad review to me doesn't mean a whole lot. When I'm flying into a place, I set my pickup time as whatever time the plane is scheduled to land. The plane's getting there at 10 o'clock, I say 10 o'clock. And I know I'm not going to teleport over there at 10 o'clock. The plane's a little early, I'm good. If the person's running a little late, I'm good. Generally set my departure time maybe an hour before that because, if you fly out of O'Hare, you need to be there 2 hours early. I've also found that if your flight changes or something goes on, everybody I've ever worked with has been really good about adjusting those times and even changing a day or two. So don't freak out that you're locked in on that. One thing to do also is check your mileage allowance. Some of them are a little stingy on the mileage allowance, so make sure you understand how many miles you think you might drive, because just like the nationals, those over mileage fees can really be steep. And next, if the cigarette smell is an issue to you, or you're, let's say, really, really allergic to cats, it pays to inquire about those issues before renting. Look at the cancellation policy. Most of the time you can cancel up to 24 hours in advance, but make sure, because life happens and things happen. Some of the hosts will have extra options, baby seats, beach chairs, coolers, and so on. One host I rented from had a cleanup option. I was spending a week at a beach with friends. I didn't feel like vacuuming all that sand back out of the car, so $20 to me was a bargain. And one of my general business habits is I screenshot each page once I know what car I want. I do that with the nationals too. I've never needed it with Turo, but it sure helps if there's ever a discussion or a disagreement about what was on your screen. You're like, okay, well, here's a screenshot if you'd like to take a look at it. Again, it's never happened with Turo, but that has saved my bacon a number of times with other issues, and frankly, including Amazon. Once you're finalized, you're good to go. There is a check-in procedure, and I usually start that the day before because you go in and you have to confirm some information. And then when you get to the car, you log into Turo and say, hey, I'm here. And then Turo suggests photographing the vehicle from various angles. I always do this, and I take some extra pictures. The last car that I rented had some bad scrapes on the driver's door, so I documented those. I always photograph the mileage and if the gas tank is full, because you need to return the car with the same amount of gas when you pick it up. And then, of course, you've documented the mileage. As far as getting the keys to the car, you'll get a note from the host that says where the car keys are and how to access them. Most of the time, frankly, they've just been in the glove compartment or something like that. So, because they're normally parked in short-term parking and it's a fairly secure place. But once you've checked in, taken your pictures, you're off to go. If there's ever an issue, you can reach out directly to your host using the Turo app. Generally, I've always had their direct phone number. I find they're really responsive. Returning it is just as easy as when you picked it up. Now, I like to park the car in about the same spot I picked it up. So if it's on the top floor of a short-term parking garage, I'll try and park it right there. When you get there, you sign in, let them know you're done with it. It suggests you take photos. I very much suggest when you drop the car off, you take photos. Lots of detailed photos, maybe more photos than you need. Interior, exterior, trunk, because you really don't want an issue. And if you've got well documented that you didn't scratch the car, or you didn't crush in the bumper, then you should be good to go. On toll roads, most hosts have toll passes in their vehicles, and they send you a bill after the fact. Pay that online in the app. Okay, insurance. It's crazy, and it's really important when it becomes important. So the first thing you should do before you step in a Turo car or rent a Turo is check with your insurance agent and have them find out how Turo works with your insurance policies. And don't take their flippant, yeah, everything will be fine answer off the top. Make them call an adjuster or whoever and verify, because they don't always treat that the same as the national car rental companies. If you have additional drivers, one thing on the app, you scroll down toward the bottom and you send an email to that person and have them approved as an additional driver, and they'll have to have the app and they'll have to do a few steps. They'll need to do the same thing with their insurance, because if you're renting a car, your insurance isn't going to cover an accident that they have, because it's not your car. I'm not an agent, I'm not a professional in this. As with all insurance, it's up to you to choose the level of risk that you're willing to accept. So my one bad experience with the Turo rental, it was a BMW. Thought I had a really nice car to drive, and this is the downside if you're just picking up a car out of a parking lot, because we got there, car was dirty. I wasn't even in it, and you could just smell the cigarette smoke. It was atrocious. But we were on a timeline. It was going to be a long trip to get to where we were going to stay for the week, and we had a bunch of other people we were meeting. We went ahead and just took the car. I noted it, documented it as an issue. By the time we get to near where we're going, it's dark, and we figure out one of the headlights is out. Now that's a safety issue to me, which was a real big issue. The owner of the car, turns out, knew about it, just hadn't had time. Also, just like she hadn't had time to clean it or do anything to get the smoke smell out of it. Overall, for me, running from Turo is different. Like I said, I've rented I don't know how many cars from the big nationals, but it's different in a good way, because I like supporting small business people. They're very often people that are really hustling to build a small business, or that just have a car that doesn't get driven a whole lot and they're trying to generate some extra income for their household. So I really like that part. And I've had very good experiences except for that one. I'd be curious if you've had experiences with Turo and what those were, good and bad. And I'm sure the people that have watched this video would be curious to see those real life pluses and minuses as well. Again, I'm not a professional, and again, this is not a sponsored video. I'll certainly do what I can to help answer questions. Thank you.